Okay, so then now we're going to go ahead and move on to accommodation. So this is changing an existing schema. It's looking at the original one and saying, how can I make this better? How can I change this? And then going into the third one is equilibrium. So equilibrium is that schemas fit most information. So the big thing here is, what if they don't fit the information? What if the new information coming in, it doesn't fit any of the schemas prior already had? In that situation, then we go back right up to assimilation. It's using that existing one to change again, and accommodation. So it's just kind of a big process that goes round and round. An example of a schema, I suppose, would be like if a 2-year-old were walking through Walmart and they saw a bald guy with hair coming out the sides like this, and they looked up and he said, "Oh, a clown, a clown." Well, we know that he's not a clown, but at that stage, that 2-year-old probably thinks, well, anybody bald with that kind of hair must be a clown. Well, then his dad has to go and let him know that, okay, well, clown has all these other things, you know, the big red nose and whatnot. So then he's going to be able to add that to that already schema, that clown schema that he had, and understand, okay, so now this is what a clown is. So he can add on to it. So that's just a kind of a small example of what a schema may look like and how to use those processes throughout it. Okay, and then let's go move on the other way. What in the world there? Okay. So, missing a slide here, but I will just let you know kind of why it's important to know about Piaget's thinkings in the classroom. Like I said, the biggest thing is in elementary school. Those early stages of development, you have birth to 2, and you don't have to deal with that, but you do have 2 to 7, and then you have 7 to 12, and that's when huge development happens. So it's really important, especially for elementary teachers, I think, to understand this cognitive development and whatnot. But it definitely can be substantial for high school student or teachers as well, because a lot of these stages overlap, and we see 7th grade students who are still reading at the 3rd grade level and whatnot, and it just helps us understand how can we get to this student quicker. And just his theories and whatnot are so renowned that you just have to pay attention to what he's talking about, what he's thinking. So next up, then, we're going to go ahead and move on to Alfie Kohn, who is the cognitive development theorist, or the classroom theorist. He is a leading educator, authored 14 books. He is currently 57 years old, so he's still alive. He criticizes a lot of general practices. We get like standardized testing. He talks about that, reward and punishment. He touches on that quite a bit. And then just several other management techniques that we'll talk about. And then he's appeared on many TV shows and radio stations, gives lectures and whatnot often, and is also internationally known, just like Piaget was. So let's get into his thinking a little bit. I'm just going to start off by saying that I really liked reading into Alfie Kohn and reading his ideas. And all the articles I read were really humorous. They kept me attentive and whatnot, and really sarcastic too at the same time. I had to read a couple of his articles several times through to really understand his sarcasm. And to get to know him, I guess, but you can really connect with him on a level, even though you have to read into him through paper or website or whatnot. So the big thing that he talks about, I think 4 out of the 5 articles you read, you're going to find this word in this: community. He talks about community to a large degree, which goes just in right along with competition versus cooperation. He's huge on cooperation in the classroom. He says, why do we have students compete with each other for grades and standardized testing and projects and whatnot? Why aren't we having these students work together? So he really brings this question up, and it definitely makes me question why we're not as well. We see all this competition, can you do better than them? In every grade level and every subject we see this. So I definitely think that his argument on cooperation over competition is substantial. Next up is reward and punishment. He talks about this quite a bit too, and has a pretty significant, I guess, impact in this area too. Something I'd never really considered before was, rewards are similar to punishment in that when you give somebody punishment, they're just going to go back and do it again because they're going to be punished. Whereas reward, yes, they're going to go back and do it again, but it's only to get that reward. They're not actually doing it for any real reason except for to get the reward. An example of why this could go wrong is I could give out a star to one kid, for doing his homework, whatever, and did a really good job this week. And then the next week he did it anyway, yet I didn't give him a star. Okay, all of a sudden his interest level is, no longer there because he knows he's not getting rewarded every time. Which times is he going to get rewarded? Kind of a situation like that. So that's when rewards can backfire. So he said, get rid of reward, get rid of punishment. Teach them about intrinsic rewards instead. Teach them about, why should I be learning? What's the value of learning? Try to get that to them instead of actually punishing them or rewarding them constantly. This is also another interesting one, personal learning versus personalized learning. They really do sound normal, and if you look at it, or similar, if they look at it, personalized learning seems to be the right one. But in this instance, personal learning is actually the more individualized one, whereas personalized is more guided towards people who want, better grades. They just want to give their students standardized tests, So it's really just personalized for all of the students, whereas personal learning is each student gaining something for their own, on their own. So that's kind of quick synopsis of personal and personalized learning. And then I talked about this a little bit. Standardized testing should be a thing of the past. And he kind of even talks about how grades should almost be a thing of the past. He works a lot, I think, with Dewey's theories and whatnot. He really appreciates Dewey, mentions him a lot about education and experience and whatnot. And I just think standardized testing is just ridiculous. And this goes along with the competition versus cooperation. Why are we pitting students against each other when they could all be working together instead? So that's what I really appreciated about his work, was that how much it was about the community aspect. So then why should we know? Why is his stuff important? So the methods work. They've been proven to work throughout many school districts. They really are great methods. Like I said, why would you want to pit students against each other? Why not have them working together? Grade-wise, I think that's definitely something we should keep intact. But as far as standardized testing, same thing. Why do we have that? So there's definitely a lot of information there, and I know that he gets a lot of criticism for it as well. And then just better classroom structure. Again, building that community. People are so much more willing to learn in a safe environment where they're able to communicate openly, and they just feel comfortable where they're at. So I just think, building that community in the classroom, again, he hits on that just a lot. And then experience in education. And I did mention again, he just worked well with Dewey's works quite a bit. He loves the aspect of creating projects and working together and whatnot, rather than just sitting at a desk working on papers all day. So. And then this would be my works cited here. So, thank you.